proud. I'ma make it go wow. I'm original, and I told you so. I'm a kid in the candy store with the leather on the denim. I ain't the cure, I'm the venom. If you wanna find me, find the taillight. Something's coming in, you're gonna wanna take a red eye. It's time to go. It's time to go. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. I don't wait for nobody. I'm a summer name on the dotty. City lights call my name, drawn to the flame, and I'm feeling kinda naughty. I hit the ground running, step out the door and I'm stunning. Better hold tight cause you know what's going down. I'm setting the pace cause this is my town. So get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink.
Happy What Up Wednesday, everybody! It's 2022. Did you know? Had you checked the news? That's one way to find out. Or you can just be on social media all the time and hear the things. Okay, I'm going to try to get my music started. There we go. Hope that's a good level for y'all in the background. I'm really excited to be back. I know it was only 1 week that I took off, but I kind of had some extra days because I, stopped after the Wednesday and kind of... What did y'all do for New Year's? I want to hear about it, and I want to say hi to everybody. But first of all, let's get a handle on what we're going to talk about today. First of all, we're going to talk about drilling in indoor. A lot of you are doing some indoor hockey right now. I did see a question a while back on the Facebooks, and I thought, you know what, this is a good topic to go through, especially because I actually challenged some of my own ideas about drilling as I worked through this as a way to explain it. So we're going to talk about drilling in indoor. We're going to talk about a concussion rule in indoor rules. I know, right? This is something that you're going to want to listen to, and we're going to have to keep having some conversations about this one because this isn't going away, friends, and this is a big deal. I'll tell you why later. The last thing we're going to talk about is the coin toss. It came up in the Discord server, and I realized that I was like, oh, I talked about this on What Up Wednesday, and it was literally 50 episodes ago. So that's more than a year. And I thought, okay, well, this is worth coming back to and having a bit more of a chat with. We're going to have a chat with it. We're going to get down with it. We're going to talk about it. And I also want to hear if there's anything that's on your minds, anything I can talk about in the short term. I would love to hear from you. So let's find out who's here, shall we? Where is my comments window? I have it in the wrong spot. I thought I was super prepared today, and I am always, always wrong. As always, Rachel Davids kicking it off. Oh, a Merlot. Oh, that's what I was drinking for the last part of the holidays, for sure, was the good old Merlot. And hang on, this is all just crazy talk here. So you'll probably be on your first glass by the time we get started. Yeah, sorry. I was a little late today because I'm like, oh, everything's going fine. Wait a minute, it's 12:01. Anyway, don't worry. I got under control. Lou's here, of course. Great to have you. And yes, it was a good holiday season. Well, we'll talk about it. Shane's here and sitting back with your morning coffee. Kia ora. To Stefan as well. I'm glad you've had a good 2022 so far. Reds or whites? Obviously reds. Actually, she's just kidding. She does drink some rosé, which will come out. Urian's here. Urian's here because the concussion question is his, and he is anxious to find out why I have so many rants about it. Ian's here. Yes, we're Sir, I am going to try to keep it to a Keely hour today. I'm not very good with boundaries, am I? No. AJ, I'm so glad to see you again. It's been a while. Good to have you. And here we go. Malt whiskey. Yes. After Christmas. Get it. Simon's here. And yes, we are glad to be here together. Third team. You're all so lovely. I feel this. Oops, as I hit my mic. But I feel the love. It's great. Luke. Mr. Pibworth Rule is here. Especially the whiskey. Oh, instant coffee. No, sir. Stefan, I don't drink coffee, but friends don't let friends drink instant coffee. Okay? You get yourself an AeroPress or one of those other fancy contraptions like all the hipsters have, and apparently your life is going to change. I've heard all about it. Try it. There you go. Second glass already there. Mike Mack is here. Excellent red wine. I'm really glad you guys are just all, this is what I'm drinking. I don't even have to ask you. Hey, Richard. Richard is a friend here in the live stream community who also lives in Calgary, and we've never met. This is my life, okay? All the people I know are on the internet, and they're wonderful. Matt Sefton, hang on a sec. I think you're new. No, wrong one. I hope that's not too loud. That sounds really loud in my ears. I'm very glad to welcome you. The third team is here to say hello. If you have any questions, queries, comments, please do let me know. And, Discord server. If you don't know that we have this thing, did you know we have a Discord server? It's a running joke because usually Niels is here and he's telling us all about the Discord server. Right there. Just go to that link, Matt, and come join us because we can keep the conversation going all throughout the week. And we have some really good chats about things that we can't get to in the What Up Wednesdays. And incidentally, that's where I do all of the FHU 3T mentoring activities now because Discord is really, really amazing. So anyway, come there. Come say hi. Chris is here, of course. What a really nice, I like your avatar. You're this way. Your Facebook avatar is very sweet. Alan's here. Good to have you. Oh, Mr. Vice Chair. Properly addressed. I love it. Scott, of course. There you go. Okay, you have an online comedy gig. Okay, I get it. You're busy. Okay, fine. You're umpiring an indoor game tomorrow, Simon. Excellent. And yes, fingers crossed for everybody around the world that everybody's hockey's restarted or is going to restart. Our indoor should start on Sunday. Maybe. I'm starting to get messages from players on my club indicating their intentions early to not play right now. I don't know how it's all going in your particular areas, but we are definitely, because, we have a conservative government in place in our province, so things are definitely skyrocketing, and I mean, the concern is always the hospital beds. So there you go. Oh boy, Stefan. Yeah. Well, I'm not ranting about concussions. Okay. I've had concussion issues myself. So this isn't about the medical condition. This is about us as umpires and our jobs. Goddard is here. There you go. See, Mike, could you please please address Stefan. Go into the Discord, DM him, and let him know how to do this whole AeroPress thing. I personally French press my loose leaf tea because I'm a snob like that. Just saying. There you go. Sound levels are good. Cool. Okay. The chair of domestic affairs. Oh, it's not an appliance. That's the best part. And also, like, just go on Amazon and get one. Very happy New Year, Maurice. Very nice to see you. I'm glad that you've joined in. I don't see you around very much, so thank you. I feel very privileged today. Oh, you're done for the season, Rachel. That's not great. Luke's got an AeroPress. I don't like hearing this. There you go. Yes, we have to talk about your knee replacement recovery. Daughters, that would be great. Okay, quick announcements to go through. First of all, I just wanted to give a warm welcome to Mike Edwards and Chris Pelmore, who's here in the comments, and Anwar Yusuf for joining FHU3T Yellow. It's good to have you, and I am so excited about what we're going to be doing in the new year. I am invigorated, and I mean, if you thought I was super keen and ridiculously excited about talking to y'all last year, oh my gosh, buckle up, just saying. Okay, so very warm welcome. Make sure you're in the Discords to take advantage of all that. And tomorrow night, there still are a few places left in the Mission Critical workshop. I don't like to have more than about 10 or 12 because it is a discussion, just kind of like this is, but with y'all in Zoom. So it's, you know, it's even more an exchange, because I don't believe in teaching these concepts by rote and just telling you how it's going to go. It has to be a discussion, and we exchange ideas and buy-ins and concerns, and that's how I learn. So I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it so I understand this stuff better. Anyway, so if you haven't already signed up, there it is. FHumpires.com/MCP. It would be great to have you. And if you're a Yellow member, you're practically stealing it. In a good way. Just saying, you get a discount. There you go. Ah, another umpire you've umpired with, Rachel. That's fantastic. Niels, it's not what you've missed, it's what we've missed. We missed you because you weren't here at the beginning. There you go. Oh, where it is. You're out walking and pain-free. God, Godders, well done, sir. Well done. Just gonna throw that in there. Okay, let's get on to our topics today and see if I can keep within Ian's very busy social schedule. I love you, Ian. You know it. You know it. Okay. Drilling in indoor. That button. Drilling in indoor. You could tell I was expecting something really momentous to happen, which didn't happen. Okay. So let's see. Is everything going okay? System audio? I never know. Okay, we'll find out. So this popped up a little ways back on the Facebooks, as you can see from the date right there. And it was about drilling. And the poster here, Simon Whitaker, was talking about how, you know, he understands the basic concepts, but they're getting into problems in his particular area about backstick passes being blown, which I assume he means on the reverse stick. Attempts at going past players getting blown as being dangerous, and the defenders are super excited because they're able to defend a much larger area than you would expect. And talking about how it's understood that playing a ball hard at a set player is prohibited and is very dangerous. Players in a bent position set with their stick parallel and flat to the floor, but is asking, does that area of protection extend beyond the stick? And does it extend an area where a defender would choose to move their stick into? Was he reading the rule correctly? And so let's go through just really quickly what it is in the actual rule book here with 9.8. So The thing that's interesting about drilling is that it doesn't exist in the outdoor rules. And we've had conversations in the past, and commentators have noticed, pundits, isn't that interesting that you can throw a ball hard into a set player in outdoor, but not an indoor. We'll try to kind of leave that aside a little bit, but you know me, I like to get into principles, so we will talk about that in a second. But basically, as I put my glasses away, and I absolutely shouldn't have, so the rule says that playing the ball deliberately and hard into an opponent's stick, feet, or hands with an associated risk of injury when the player is in a set or stationary position, semicolon. And players collecting, turning, and trying to play the ball deliberately through a defending player who is either close to the player in possession or is trying to play the ball are both dangerous actions and should be dealt with under this rule. And a personal penalty can be awarded. And if you look at the indoor FH briefing, which I do have up, but I'm not sure if I have a scene associated with it, it certainly talks about cards in association with this particular piece of danger. So this is why I talk to y'all very often about going back to the rule book and reading the actual wording, because you think you might know a rule. You think you might have it under control, and then suddenly you notice something different, like a semicolon, the word both, the separation of the concepts. And as somebody with legal training and a legal mind, it's caused me to look at this in a slightly different way. So what I get out of this all is that there's two different ways that a ball can be considered, or a pass can be considered drilling and therefore dangerous. If the defender is in that set or stationary position. Now, set is in quotation marks. We don't have a definition for set. So I'm interested in your thoughts. How would you define set? Okay. We know what stationary is, but what's set? Okay. And maybe that goes back to what Simon said here about the player is set when in a bent position with the stick parallel and flat to the floor. Which is, one possible definition, but I'd be interested in your thoughts there. And that there's another way that a ball can be considered drill, and that's a turn and fire. Okay, and I don't know if that's a phrase or a slang or a nickname that is used in your area, but when the rule talks about the players collecting, turning, and trying to play the ball deliberately, that's a lot of words that in my area of the world we call a turn and fire. And that happening in close to the defender, or when a defender is trying to play the ball. I'm not sure if you can really try to play the ball unless you're in close. Maybe I'm misreading this situation. Please tell me. So those are two different ways. And this was important because when I started going through the examples in my clips about drilling, I realized, actually, yeah, I get this a little bit more. Okay. Now, you know me, I got to get into the principles of things. Okay. So I just want to touch on a few of the concepts that I think are really important to bear in mind when we talk about drilling, so that we can interpret and apply the rule properly and according to how the game actually gets played in our universe. Okay. The reason that drilling is so important in indoor is because we don't have any 3D skills permitted unless we're shooting at goal. And even then, drilling can apply. But the lack of the ability for the ball to be raised off the ground means that defenders are going to defend with their sticks down on the floor much more often than they are in outdoor. When your stick is down on the floor, that takes your head, very important area of a person's body, down towards the ground, closer to where the ball is, closer to where the sticks are flying, all that sort of thing, okay? And that's why it's more dangerous even than situations in outdoor, okay? Is the lack of 3D skills. We're playing on a really small court, which means there's not a lot of area in between us. We're more likely to be in the close proximity, which increases the danger level. So we don't want to see drilling. And it emphasizes the need to pass around people. Okay? Years and years ago, and I cannot find this because I think the internet was bad back at this time. I don't know. But just as I was starting to get into umpiring, there was a Dutch international named it, and I apologize for my pronunciation, Minky Booj? B-O-O-J. And she was being interviewed, and in the article, she touched on things that bother her about umpires. Go figure. And she said, umpires who react to stick sounds makes no sense because the stick feels no pain. Okay? So I have never forgotten that because I'm like, yo, that is so correct. Yes, it does not feel pain, which means we're not protecting sticks from drilling. We're protecting our heads, our hands, our feet. So it's the notion of the ball being tossed really hard at a stick so it flies up and then can cause all that injury, or, you know, even sticks on follow-throughs going into people's faces. We're protecting players, not sticks. Okay? And that is really, really important when we get to the problems that Simon was talking about there. And the last thing is that we understand that in our sport, we have a time period in which it's reasonable to expect a player to be able to react. A time period or a distance of play. In outdoor, that's 5 meters. We don't just have players starting 5 meters away on free hits because that is the correct amount of advantage to give to a player who's been awarded a free hit because a foul's occurred. Nay, it's actually to protect the defenders as well. They have to start 5 meters away because it allows them that time to be able to react to a ball from that stationary position. In indoor, it's 3 meters. Court smaller. Okay. I'm not sure if the ball moves any slower in indoor, but the court's smaller. So 5 meters would be quite significant on that 44 meters long and 22 meters wide or something like that. Oh, wait for somebody to correct me. This is what happens. Okay. So these are all the things that we want to keep in mind when we're applying the drilling rule to everything. Okay. Before I start going into the examples, let me go into the comments and see what y'all are going to school me on here. Let's go. I don't know what Callie's talking about here, but she and I will talk later. Here, let me get back to my main screen first before I do all this. Yeah, player and opponent. That's a good idea. Okay. Set for you, Scott, is feet planted on the ground. If the defender was moving parallel to the attacker, even though they may appear to be set relative to the attacker, they're still choosing to move. Okay, we're gonna pin this because I agree, but I also disagree. Okay, and it's one of the clips I have is a good example. So I'm gonna star that, and therefore anticipating what will happen. So should be prepared. Okay. Yes. See, I was able to correct your words on the fly. You know why? I'm a professional. And the rulebook says, Scott Mack is indicating, says set or stationary, implying that set isn't necessarily stationary.
How you like that?
Chris, the concept of being set and stationary is tough to get right. Let's double check because now we've got Chris going the other way on that. So let me make sure. Let me take all this away and get back the rule. Set or stationary position. Absolutely right. So thank you. We've got that. So Chris will correct it and see what happens in your little phrase here. The concept of being set or stationary is tough to get it right. It seems to be regularly called when the defender is moving into position. You have the clip marked drilling and the defender is moving into it. Okay, Chris, absolutely. And we're going to talk about why. Okay. A definition isn't provided. So yeah, absolutely. But I think it is important to say that set doesn't equate to stationary, and stationary doesn't equate to set either. A player could be stationary, but they could be facing the other way with their stick up at their waist. Okay, so they're stationary, and that could be drilling because of the operative or in there. Does change things, hey? Yeah. I probably could. Stefan, you can always make me an MP3, put it in the Discord, and I'll grab it. That would be great. Okay, let's go into a few of these clips that I have to outline. So how am I going to do this? Am I going to pause? Yeah. It's tricky. I just see now that's bouncing through my head. Good work.
The ball back to the halfway line.
Okay.
The ball back again.
So here's an easy example of a drill. Okay. The defender is set enough. The defender is also quite stationary. The ball is played hard from a close range, less than 3 meters, into the stick, which is in front of the player's body. So it's within their body distance, which makes it dangerous. Okay. Oops, I'm reaching the wrong way. That's an easy one. No question about it, right?
Is here at the moment.
Here is a potential that is not a drill because it's not close enough. Okay. You can see that the player in yellow here in possession of the ball who releases it hard at a set stationary player within their body distance is probably 5 meters away, if my circle calculations are correct. Let's see if I can I? It's not showing up on the screen. I'm trying to telestrate for y'all. Oh, come on. Let's see. There. Okay, so the distance. This is so hard, you guys. That is more than 3 meters. So because of that, we're going to say that's not close and therefore doesn't qualify as drilling. Okay, let me know if you have any questions on this or any concerns. Now, okay, I'll get into the standpoint here. Okay.
No count.
Here's an example of one where the ball is sent into a player who is relatively set at the time, but it's not played hard. Now this is a really clever play by the... Oh, just like keep on playing it, friends. Oh, I see. I see you decided not to loop for me. Huh. Okay, let's go like this. When you watch at the particular moment, it actually is quite a soft pass. Rolls up the player's stick, hand raised, foot, and there you go. Okay? So although it's close and although the player is set, it's not hard enough. So you're looking for a number of things all to coincide. You need the set or stationary, then you need the close, then you need the played hard. Okay? Here's another example here where we can argue as to whether this player is set or not. Okay, we're going to look at the replay again. So the umpire's called a penalty corner. The captain is trying to argue that the player wasn't set, and the captain is like, okay, fine. And when we look at the replay of this, although her stick is down, is her stick protecting herself enough? I don't know. Okay, but in the opinion of the umpire there, and that's where the judgment of how set is set, how ready is ready, you know, should be considered. I think in a lot of cases, that call would actually go the other way. There you go. Okay. And the last one that I'm going to show you is one that I've really struggled with for a long time. And I apologize that I should probably edit this and try to just blow up the lighting on this much better. Okay. So the umpire, I just love that signal that she's giving for the back chat. So she just upgrades what was the green card for that. But what you've got in this situation, I hope you can see it, okay, is the attacker in possession of the ball is actually facing a little bit away from the player and then turns. So she's facing behind, which is okay, not obstruction yet at this point. But then she turns here and fires the ball at a set player. Not stationary, but she was set. And even if she wasn't, the set or stationary language I'm going to put to you doesn't apply necessarily to the turn and fire situation, because those are two different aspects. Okay. So like I was saying here, okay, they're separate. The turn and fire doesn't require set or stationary. It just requires that it's in close or the defender is trying to play the ball. Okay, which adds a different dimension to that. And now when I look back on that clip, I'm like, oh yeah, that is drilling. That is dangerous because of the turn, the deception, and the lack of time and the ability for that player to prepare to defend themselves against a ball that they can't anticipate. So it's more likely it's going to slam into their hand, more likely it's going to go up into their face and break their nose, whatever the case might be. Okay. So those are the examples that I was able to pull out for, you know, set, not hard, played hard, that kind of thing. What is interesting is that in my experience, and this has been happening in my area a lot, is that umpires are treating, or they're applying drilling much like inexperienced umpires treat stick obstructions. When they hear the noise, they react. And that's because they're not applying the principles of what is dangerous. They're reacting to stick sound because it's the easiest indicator. They haven't assessed what the distance is. They haven't assessed whether that ball is going outside of that player's body. Okay? Because we're not protecting a stick. When a stick is extended away outside of, I guess, the stance or the stick width when it's presented in front of the player's body, that width is a good measure. Where their feet might be, where their hands are going to be, where their face could be leaning down into the danger zone. So those outside of the body hard passes are not drills. They are attempted interceptions. Okay? So I keep reminding umpires, go back to, like, why do we have this rule? Are we protecting sticks that feel no pain? Or are we protecting people's faces? Was that player's face out there? No, it wasn't. Okay, not a drill. I hope that helps. I'm going to yours. I'm going to all your thoughts. There you go. Let's see. They have the word set in the rules, so there must be a need for it. The need for it is that's one of the criterion. Yeah. Okay, so it's one of the two criterion of the first. I'm just going to keep going back to this. Okay, so set is there because it's one of the ways, but it doesn't qualify what stationary is. It's not required for stationary, it's separate. That's why the word or is so critical there in legal interpretation principles. I hope everybody is cool with that. Okay, could be a hit. Yeah. Let's go back to it. Let's see how much. Yeah, that's a decent amount of backswing. That may well have been well over 50 centimeters. It's hard to see. The footage from the Indoor World Cup in 2018 was not very good. You can see it's not very well lit, and you just can't. 15 frames per second is not going to happen. It's not going to work for us. We need something better than that. Hitting is one of those things that, again, it's like danger. Its spirit is informed by danger, but from area to area, there are different levels of tolerances. And what makes indoor so fun, makes it very complicated, is that we just don't play enough of it in the world. I'm a huge indoor fan. Like, I love the format of the game. To me, there's outdoor, there's indoor, and the rest is just recreational. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Hockey fives, beach hockey, all those things are fantastically fun. Maybe. Beach hockey's fun. But they're not competitive senior forms of our sport. Indoor and outdoor absolutely are. And that's because there aren't artificial rules that have been made up in order to, make the game one way or another. The rules are there because of safety. And the hit is there intended because when players take big backswings, that requires a big follow through. And that big follow through is going to hit somebody in the face. Ask me how I know. I have a little notch underneath my nose here. You can't see it because my makeup's really good today. That it's really sensitive to, it's like a nerve thing because it got cut and now it's just hypersensitive because I took a follow through like that. And not allowing those follow throughs and reducing the possibility that a ball is going to be raised on an indoor court is really, really important to keeping the game safe. So those are the things that we're sort of looking at. And that's why we can't let hitting go too far. So yes, just receiving the ball and pushing it off the stick, that isn't the standard. But when you get to a meter of a backswing, that's a hit. And if it's a hit in outdoor on a penalty corner, it's a hit in indoor. Those two things can inform each other, I think. Scott, set implies expecting and ready, but that kind of contradicts the reason for the word needing to be there. Yeah. I don't know, because I think what we're saying is the player, it's okay if the player's running parallel alongside the attacker. Because if you have to be stationary in order for it to be dangerous, then you're kind of asking defenders to stop moving. I'm a pretty terrible defender, but even I know I don't want to do that because somebody's just going to run around me. So the notion that I could be running parallel to someone, and if my stick is in that excellent tackling position or that excellent interception position and I am close and the ball gets sent into my body hard, that just isn't okay. And I can't see a compelling reason why it should be okay. So flip it around. If you're thinking, well, no, if a defender's moving, that should never be drilling. Flip it around and say, why should an attacker get away with that? Where's the skill involved there? If they're sending it within the body shape of that trailing defender, not trailing, but that marking defender. Let's call them that. Okay. When you do that, I think you get to the right. I think you get in line with the rules. Agreed. Yeah, soft is not dangerous. The rule is about danger. Yeah, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Okay. You've always considered the drill and the spin as separate classes of the same rule. Well, you're a better person than me because I had kind of lost sight of that because I haven't seen turn and fires for quite some time. Thank goodness. So I can tell you a little backstory. Let's see, probably about 10 years ago now, I took my only yellow card, and it was an indoor, and I was at the time captaining the team. And remember, I only captain the team because I'm the most expendable person on the pitch, by the way. And it was late in the game. We were down a goal or tied or something like that. And the opposition did a turn and fire inside the circle and caught one of my teammates in the face with their follow through. And the ball hit my teammate's foot. And the umpire awarded a penalty corner. The umpire who... and now that I'm thinking about it, they were on the wrong side to be awarding that. Anyway, but I walked up to the umpire and I said, I have something to say, and after this time in which I'm speaking to you, you're going to give me a yellow card. And then I ripped into her about turn and fires. No swearing. I didn't really raise my voice, but I said, under absolutely no circumstances can that ever be considered a penalty corner. That is a turn and fire and highly dangerous. Look at my teammate. She's bleeding from her nose because that is inherently dangerous. It cannot be allowed in this game. You have made a significantly erroneous call at a key moment in the game. Now I'm walking off the pitch. and she sort of looked at me. She's like, as I walked. I'm a little older now, so I'm a little more calm, right? I am. But this is why it's so important to get these things right. And it's so important to give the personal penalties as well. Because that player, I was furious at her. I was absolutely furious at her. And she needed to be removed and sat down on the bench away from the rest of us who would instinctively think to protect our teammate. And I've seen over and over again games that get out of hand because these drilling fouls are not dealt with properly. So the system is, you can maybe give a warning the first time. The first time you see a drill, your whistle, you blow it across the pitch. Like, your whistle should be so full of volume and breath that it just flies out of your hand and blows across the pitch. You're so angry. Big whistle, absolutely not. And point. Like, get the point out and just and then take your angry eyes back out. You don't want to keep those in for too long. So you could, but you don't necessarily have to. You may go straight to a green card. You may go straight to a yellow card, depending on the situation. Okay? Frankly, I like going straight to a green in senior levels of hockey at the top division, wherever you're playing. And I had a long discussion with a couple of people in South Africa who were trying to deal with whether they should be giving. They said, well, we've already given one player a yellow for drilling. what if they do it again? Can we just give them another yellow? And I'm like, no. And they said, well, the player doesn't understand the rule clearly. And I said, if the player clearly doesn't understand that they're going to injure somebody, they clearly can't play for the rest of the game. End of story. It's that important. Okay. Oh, so Stefan, the word needs to be maybe a clear definition, just to separate the stationary aspect. Well, yeah, I guess, but we can't, I'm trying to influence what the rules committee puts in the rule book, as you'll see in a second. Oh boy, this has been a while. But we have to deal with what we have in front of us. And that part of the language, the or, is clear enough. Okay, so we have to have our proper interpretive thinking caps on. Clip 3. You're happy she's not set. She's still in the process of putting her stick to the floor. Okay, fair enough. Yep, and that's totally fine. There you go. Rich, disconnect your buzzer. That's a Canadian thing. I just realized literally nobody's going to get that joke unless if Richard's still here. Richard would get that joke. Some things are just too Canadian. Okay. You coach attackers to spin and fire with a large step to get around. Without the step and there's no contact with step, is it okay? If it's going into the defender's body space, no. No, it's not okay, Chris. So that's why you're seeing that skill developing, where the turn is the extra step and the player is literally falling as they're taking their forehand flick. Okay, I've watched lots of videos. See, now I'm a coach, I can put these things together. But seeing the videos where the player's trying to get that extra reach and getting around, which necessitates the rest of their body momentum taking them down and falling, that is an example of how not to turn and fire into the player, okay? Because that's trying to get away from them. So, no, it's not okay. Yeah, it is. It is. And very high risk, very high penalty. Oh, Mike Mack, you have no idea. I was exceptional at it. To know that the only yellow card, I actually had to ask for it first. Because I wanted to make sure they weren't going to let me off the hook. Because it was obviously an umpire who who didn't know better. But that's who we had on that game. So they didn't know to call that drilling. And I said, well, I'm not going to let you make 2 mistakes. So you're going to sit me down with a yellow card. Because at least I have to set the example, because everybody knows here I am a high-ranking international umpire. But I also need everybody on this pitch to understand that that is wrong. Off I go. Yeah, I think... See, okay, I am gonna push back on this. I really hate... I'm almost ready to push Brand of the Week, but I'm saving it because I've got more. I don't like this whole, the player had other options. I don't give a, where is it? I don't give a flying as to whether they could have passed somewhere else or they couldn't have passed somewhere else. Does it matter as to whether something is dangerous or not? It's irrelevant. You'll notice I didn't put that. That is a nice little catchphrase that I hear all the time in English indoor hockey, and I think it's dumb. So what's the difference? What are you going to call differently? Are you going to apply a different team penalty? Are you going to apply a different personal penalty? Because we're not talking about an intentional foul from the perspective of a defender defending. We're talking about somebody putting somebody else in danger. End of story. It doesn't matter if they could have passed back. It doesn't matter if they were surrounded and thought, well, I'm just going to drill it at somebody. You're going to treat it exactly the same way, so get rid of that nonsense. because it doesn't help you. We have enough to think about in this call. It's hard. It moves fast. So don't get your brain all confused with things that are irrelevant. Sorry, Godders. And I know that's not you, but I still love you. We're still friends. Next up is the whiskey. I know. Going to the scotch. I love it. Okay. Stefan, you saw clip training the fall over shot and the help get past the reach. Yes. No, because it's trying to go away. So again, a defender, unless the defender has been able to anticipate this and get their body in front of where the shot is released, they're not in danger. They'll be reaching out with their stick. Probably on the reverse. Not turn and fire. Okay? Because rules. The turn and fire has to be in close. In close. Or trying to play the ball. Ugh. Okay? But I think we understand enough from everything else. It could be, but it depends on what the defender's able to do. But the point of that skill is to get the attacker away from where the defender is. Yeah, there you go. Not your point. Yeah. Sorry, I got off on a rant there. It is. It is. That's it, but that's anticipating all kinds of fouls when players come into contact as well. So that's when your brain switches on, because you know something can happen here. Are you trying to say, Stefan, that you need to drink in order to enjoy my streams? I don't know if I'm flattered or angry. I'll take some time with this one. Yep. Absolutely. So Godders, you're absolutely off the hook. You're right. That wasn't the point that you made, but I have heard it. I read it. I read it on that Facebook thread where I pulled off that question, which is why you don't take your umpiring advice from Facebook. You take it from YouTube. I'm just kidding. You take it from me or other well-trained, highly respected individuals in the community. Because unlike, I don't know, what you should wear to a party, there are people who are qualified to talk about these things, and then there's people who aren't. Just saying. Okay. Let's see. I think we're caught up, and it's only 12:54, so that only took that long. Sorry. Okay. Let's go on to question number 2. Yiryan, you've been sticking in, waiting for your big question to be asked. He posed this on the Ask FHU channel in the Discord, and I said, hold my beer, I need to go talk about this with a few people, and I did. And I still don't have a great answer for you, but I sure do have some discussion points. So what Yiryan brought to my attention, something I hadn't even looked at, because they snuck this in. There were 2 editions of the indoor rules of hockey released in 2020. So this is still the 2019 rulebook, but in 2020 in November, they issued one set that had some amendments. And then in December, they released another one. So just a month later, and they slipped in this amendment into 2.7, which I'll put up on the screen in a second. And basically what this rule requires is that a player shall leave the field of play if an umpire suspects a head injury. Okay, and so Yiryan's question revolves around, how do I handle this? And what does that mean for an umpire when potentially you, as an umpire, suspect a head injury has occurred to a defender, and you've called a penalty corner, that player then shall leave the pitch and has to defend with one fewer player. This is why. This is what 2.7 says. Okay, play shall be stopped by the umpire. Shall. Not may be stopped, shall be stopped by the umpire in case of a head injury to allow for the assessment by a team official or doctor prior to play resuming. In the case of a possible concussion, then the player shall leave the field of play and be substituted to allow for a concussion assessment to be completed. Friends, I can't even with the problems in this rule. This is the most poorly thought out amendment I have seen. And everybody I spoke to who is senior in the indoor game agrees. Let me count the ways. First of all, this clause is in direct contradiction to Rule 2.3, which doesn't allow anyone except for an injured goalkeeper to be substituted on a penalty corner. So is this to override? Is 2.7 now overriding 2.3? Or not? And if it doesn't, now an umpire has to send off a player that they suspect has a concussion. Because as umpires, we're all medically qualified to assess what a potential concussion might be in the moment and make that decision to the detriment of the defending team. And what if the player refuses to leave? What if they get angry? Now are you in a position where you're giving cards because you're getting cussed out by a player who doesn't leave the pitch? Fairly understandably. Okay. I've been asked, what's the difference between a rule and a regulation? This is a fantastic example of a rule that needs to be a regulation. And let me tell you why. Regulations are competition and region specific. They respond to the particular variations that you have in a league, in a tournament, at a particular level of play, in a geographic area, whatever the case might be, in order to fairly administer that particular league, competition, tournament, test match, whatever it is. This whole language reeks of this is an FIH international tournament where there are team officials or doctors present. I don't play at a facility where there is a team official or doctor associated with a team. If I show up to coach my teams, that's as official as it gets. And I ain't a team official. Okay? I don't have a technical bench. I mean, we have a tech table, but they're just running the clock. They're not doing anything else. I don't have a tournament director. I don't have a technical director who is there to back me up as an umpire when I say, I suspect that player has a concussion. For all of you going out into your little halls all over the place and just, going out there and umpiring a game, who's going to assess the player? And when? And to what degree of proficiency? Okay? That doesn't exist. So this needs to be an international regulation in the FIH indoor tournament regulations, indoor World Cup tournament regulations, not in the bloody rules of hockey. There's a sound effect for the rant of the week anyway. Okay. Lastly, here's the biggest problem of all. As I've mentioned, probably way too many times, I do have a legal background and I practiced law for a very short period of time. But you don't have to be a seasoned personal injury lawyer or any kind of civil litigator to know that clause puts umpires in a potentially liable situation. They are now expected to evaluate a player on the pitch as to whether they may have a concussion. What if you're wrong? Now, I'm going to hear people coming back saying, oh, it's fine. We're not litigious like Canadians and Americans, and it's fine. Yeah, well, guess what? It won't be long. It won't be long until someone, an umpire, the two umpires, everybody doesn't notice that a player could have a head injury. They don't send them off the pitch. They keep playing, and then 3 days later, they're in the hospital, suffering from a higher level of medical conditions. And that umpire is going to get sued. Okay? Should umpires now have the expertise to understand what a concussion is and to be able to look for the signs and to know all these things? Are you kidding me? So everything that people have been arguing about with danger on penalty corners over the last, I don't know, every decade. I'm talking about, well, it's only a matter of time until somebody gets seriously injured or killed on a drag flick on a penalty corner and an umpire is going to get sued. No, this is where somebody's going to get sued because it's in the rule that we are supposed to make a decision about that. So as an umpire, I'm thinking, if I even have a whiff of a head injury, I'm sending that player off and I don't care. Because I have to protect myself from liability. Does your regional insurance policy protect you from that? I saw a conversation on Facebook today about EHO and about insurance policies. Is your insurance policy going to cover you on that? This is deadly. It's terrible and it's got to get removed. My advice to you is, if you are an indoor umpire and you have any kind of connection with your, regardless, complain. Complain to your national association and highlight the issue for them. Send them this clip if you want. I am just a layperson here with a legal education background, not telling you what to do in a legal sense, but telling you there is a problem here. And national associations have to go to the FIH and say, this has to be dealt with. We have to figure this out because this is exposure for umpires. Okay? Please. Dutchy McDutch, I have a legal background, not a Latin background. You're confusing those two words just because they start with an L, sir. And that is something about when the language is specific, it overrides the general. Okay, see, yeah, you didn't get me. You didn't get me. I still figured it out. If the rule book was written with actual legal interpretation principle rigor, I'd say great argument. So that overrides. However, the rule book is riddled with things that are not written to that level of precision understanding. I introduce these ideas because I think they're helpful to getting to proper definitions, but in a situation like this, can't rely on it. Does that somehow make it better? It doesn't. It's the same. You can't be wrong about when there is one. You can be wrong, maybe, if there isn't one and you still send somebody off. But man, a team could be pissed. And how do you, when you have no medical personnel, how do you get them looked at? When do they get to come back on the pitch? the very next play, the next time that they're able to be substituted, you don't have any jurisdiction as an umpire as to when an injured player of any kind is permitted to come back on the pitch. Yes, needs to be a reg. Yeah, that's fine. Where's your doctor? Is the rule being broken if you don't have a doctor or a team official? Does the team official need to have concussion training, medical training, a medical degree, a nursing certificate? What are they insured? Am I, as a coach of a league team, the only team official that's around, am I protected if I go out and I look at my player and I say, and I bring them off the pitch and I look at them and I go, yeah, you're cool, you don't have a concussion. And then I send them back on the pitch and then they got a blood clot 2 days later in their brain? This is really, really important, you guys. Bye, Ian. Okay. Good to see you. Absolutely. That's from the last topic, Otters. Thank you for that. Okay. I think what I'm trying to highlight, Lou, is that this is the first time a rule has put a medical evaluation squarely on the shoulders of an umpire inside the rules. Okay, so that makes things really, really dicey. Oh, the specific rule goes before the general. Yeah. Okay, so I did figure it out because brain. Well, yeah, you say that they're off the field, but are they allowed to? But if you use that argument that this says a substitution is allowed, and then you say, well, this is a specific situation where a substitution has to happen, but does the requirement to substitute the player, then that's not even the same exact situation as 2.2. It's specific, but it's not a specific overriding. It could be. This is really going to get into the weeds of legal doctrine, but it's not an argument I think we can pull off at this point without any further guidance from the people who've just saddled us with a whole bunch of medical responsibility. No. Exactly. Thank you, Mike. So what do you do in the meantime? You, and I need to be very clear on this, okay? Yurian, lean in, okay? You need to talk to your national association. I can't give you advice on this. I said my personal approach will be, if I even have a hint that there may be a concussion involved, I will be sending players off the pitch. I'm not going to tell them why. I'm not going to indicate what I feel like my liability might be. I'm not painting myself into any kind of corners whatsoever. That's going to be my personal approach. And meanwhile, I'm going to contact Field Hockey Canada and say, hey guys, you guys need to know about this. We play a lot indoor in this country. Are we properly insured about this? You might want to send this along to the FIH. And if a whole bunch of national associations send this along to the FIH, we might be able to get it revoked. Should you allow for substitutions in a penalty corner scenario? I don't think you should. I don't think it's clear that you can avert that rule, because I don't believe the player may be substituted, or the player wait, hang on. The player shall leave the field of play and be substituted to allow for a concussion assessment to be completed. Because in no other situation... Okay, sorry, I was like... I may have just paused a little too long there. Were you concerned that you lost me? Okay. In no other circumstance do we believe... In no other circumstance when a field defender is injured do we allow a substitution. If we're absolutely positive that they've broken an arm, if we can see blood gushing out of their nose, if they trip and fall and go, ow, I'm really, really hurt, and you're not believing them, in none of those circumstances do we allow a substitution on penalty corner. I'm not saying that that rule is correct, okay? I'm not saying I love that rule, but that's what the rule states. So this is just another kind of injury. I don't see anything that would indicate to me, just because we're not sure if it's a concussion, that we should allow that substitution. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the rule book. So no. That's what I'd say, but please. There you go. Thanks, Goddard. Okay. It's not though. It's not. This is not at all analogous. This is another layer, another level of our, you know, we are trained to understand what danger is in our sport. Are we trained to understand what a concussion is? No, we're not. I can't diagnose a concussion any more than I can diagnose cancer. Just because it happens in our game doesn't mean that I have the expertise to understand it, or to know how to treat it, or to be able to assess one of my players. Not a chance. No. No. The play is stopped until the assessment is done? No, that can't be right. That can't be right. No, play is not stopped. It stopped for the head injury so that a team official can come on, but the concussion assessment, the substitution happens so that the concussion assessment can happen somewhere else. We're not all sitting around and waiting for a concussion assessment. Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem. That's the problem. It puts us in a very tough situation on penalty corner situations. Tough situation on situations, yeah. Good English, Keely. But that's it. So what happens, Lou, if a player injures their hand and then turns to you, injures their hand, you call a penalty corner. They turn to you and they say, oh, I got bumped there. I feel woozy. It's a possible concussion. Now I'm going to allow a substitution. Right? Nope. Dealt with that. Nope. Oh, there you go. I don't know, Mike, if you're just repeating what I'm saying or you're saying it before I'm saying it, and we're just like thought twins. Yeah, you're welcome to do that. I am okay with having brave thoughts about this because I think it's really serious and important. And this is why, Lou, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be rules about concussions, but what I'm saying is they can't be in the rules of hockey. They have to be regulations that respond to the individual conditions that are experienced in that particular league, that particular tournament. So, for example, we played at the Repsol Sports Center, which is a very large multi-sport complex, and there are medical officials on staff. So what happens is if somebody gets hurt while they're playing, we bring them off the pitch if we can. And the first thing we do is we go find a staff member and say, we got an injury. It's XYZ. And then they bring a staff member over right away to assess the situation and start calling for the right people to come down, because those people have specific training and they have the insurance in place to deal with it if they F up. We may not, as the umpires in that particular competition. So our rules, our regulations should be worded differently to respond to the fact that we do have somebody on staff who could provide a concussion assessment and who could be responsible for that. Do you have that where you play indoor? Okay. So it's not a thing to put in the rules. It's a regulation. So, and then you get into an interesting situation, Steve, is, well, we have this in indoor. Why don't we have it in outdoor? What happens if a player, what if Shauna McCallan doesn't get taken out of a game? Was it Shauna McCallan? No, Nicola White. Sorry, I'm confusing my players. What if it, well, there were many of them, actually. But what if an international player doesn't get taken out of a game? Is there now a liability because you say, well, you knew, FIH, that this could be a problem in indoor hockey. How can it not be a problem in outdoor hockey? And why don't you have a rule to deal with it? This is what the legal climate, this is what civil liability is these entanglements of expectations and what is reasonable to ask of certain people and not reasonable to ask of them. That's a really good point. Sorry, knowing if there's a possible concussion means that you have to know what a concussion is. And I have experience with mine. I had a stepson who had a bunch of them. So I have some layperson's knowledge. But would I be good enough to assess what a possible concussion is? No. No, I would not. I'm sorry, Dutchy McDutch. I usually love you to death. Today, we're fighting. Exactly, okay? And as a person with a Canadian law degree, I would cover myself. Absolutely. Can I give other people that legal advice? Absolutely not, because I'm not giving legal advice. So head injury assessments take 10 minutes of rugby. Yeah, you wouldn't stop the game for that. Yeah, I mean, it's poorly worded, right? It's a mess. Thought twins, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's an assessment of a potential concussion, I believe, is what it's saying. And if it's a possible concussion, then they leave to get assessed for an actual concussion. So there's two different levels of assessment. Is it possible? Now let's verify it. Yeah. Okay. If you take the sensible reaction and send them off, this absolves us surely if they come back on. I don't know. You'd like to think so, but if we have the power to send them off and we don't do anything when they come back on, they're staggering off the pitch. They're wandering like this. But when they come back on, they're okay. They come back 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. You don't know if they've been assessed properly or not. You're umpiring a game. It's so such a mess. Right. Okay. So please get on some emails. Write to your region and ask them to pass it along to your national association if you have that many levels. I'm just going to call it Field Hockey Canada. And like I said, I put this in front of a few people. And when I raised the potential liabilities, they were like, oh. Okay. Because it's already 1:22, and I promised Ian I would keep it within a Keeley hour, I'm going to save the coin toss redo for next week. Maybe. We'll see what happens. And we will keep touching on indoor issues as we go through leading up to what will hopefully be the Indoor World Cup in Berlin in February, fairly early February. So like Rachel was saying earlier that she's done for her level of indoor in her area. I still have a solid 3 more months. If we have a lot of ifs going on, right? It's over really, really tough. I like the delegation that's happening here. Goddess is like, sir, guess what you get to do now? Sorry, Simon. I didn't mean to give you work. Really didn't mean to give you work. So yes, more indoor stuff. And remember, if you see things out there on the socials that are concerning, situations, scenarios that you would like to discuss within our community and get some solid work throughs, some solid answers on, other than this one question, which I couldn't give a good answer on because it's... Please come into the Discord server and let me know. You can DM me there, or you can... Ooh, I got a lot of overlays here, but there it is. There's the Discord. Okay, so come pop in there and say hi and engage in the discussions and let me know. You can post links to things and say, hey, let's talk about this on the next What Up Wednesday. And if you haven't already, I don't do this very often, but if you've gotten value out of today, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button and throw in a subscription if you're not already yet subscribed. I'm this close. And I'm trying not to think about it or wonder about it, but it is a big deal. When you get to 1,000 subscribers, it unlocks a whole bunch of features for you as a content creator that you can do some pretty cool stuff with. So I'm kind of getting keyed up about it. So if you're not already subscribed and you've come a few times and you're ready to commit to this relationship, I am here. I'm willing to put the work in to make this relationship work. So subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and all that sort of thing. Oh, I just saw some likes flying, so thank you very much for that. And yes, you're very welcome. What a rubbish rule. There you go. Happy New Year to all of you, of course. Yes, but COVID, please stay healthy for as long as you can. I know that we're all eventually going to get this Omicron business, but get yourself boosted. And hopefully we can slow things down so that our hospitals can still function for everybody who needs more help than we do. Okay, so I got boosted on New Year's Eve because I know how to party. There you go. You're very welcome, gang. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye for now.